The character of a nation comes not from that of its leader, but from the character of its citizens. With journalism as the leading light galvanizing the populace, citizens can get what is due them in the country. Hello and welcome to this week's installment of Press Conference right here on City TV. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. On Press Conference, we review the major press briefings and engagements in the country in the course of this week under review right here on City TV. On the program in this edition, we begin with the issue regarding cocoa roads and all the brouhaha that has surrounded it in the course of this week under review. Well, last week, there was a press briefing by the Information Minister indicating that it had been recommenced 2 years after it was suspended. Well, the minority held a press conference also on Thursday, responding to the claims of this government in the cocoa sector as to have boosted it and all the issues surrounding the cocoa roads project, and even indicated that some $10 million had been spent on, well, an audit for that matter. We'll look at that issue right here with my set of panelists who will be doing justice to the issues. We'll also look at the AFCON budget. Well, the Minister for Sports was in Parliament to deliver a statement on the issues surrounding AFCON, from preparations to the budget. But that has been the major talking point. We'll be looking at that. And then tomorrow, the Finance Minister will be delivering the mid-year budget review statement, reviewing the issues and looking at how the budget has been implemented from November as it was read in Parliament. We'll be looking at all those issues and more right here on Press Conference. The show is live and interactive via the WhatsApp line 0550585832. You can also join us via the Facebook stream. Drop your comments. You can also join us via Twitter, and we would read the comments for you with hashtag Press Conference. We'll be right back after this break. I'll introduce my guest and we'll get into the issues. You're welcome back to Press Conference right here on City TV. Joining me today to do the discussions, to my immediate left is Sena Nombo. He is a news anchor at Radio Gold, host of Alaji and Alaji on Pan-African TV. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next to him is Richard Ni Annerquaye Abbey, is editor at citybusinessnews.com. You're welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much.
And to my far left is my colleague in the Parliamentary Press Corps, parliamentary correspondent for Star FM and the EIB Group, Ibrahim Alhassan. You're welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
So we'll begin the discussions from the issues regarding the cocoa roads audit and the matters surrounding it, by first getting to understand the main issues via a press conference that was held a week today at the Information Ministry.
Ministry of Roads and Highways has been engaging with contractors to ensure that those who have done their work and have their certificates and are owed monies, we are able to get the necessary sources of those funds to pay. One of the things that thankfully now we are avoiding is giving contracts to people when we don't have commencement certificates and clarity that there will be money to pay them when the job is done. And now we are able to, because of the functioning of the Public Financial Management Act and the fiscal prudence that we have brought to things, to ensure that before you give out a contract, you have a clear commencement certificate, you are clear on the sources of repayment. Else you buckle to pressure and just award contracts. And contractors will go and borrow from the banks and do the job. The banks will start collapsing because at the time you are awarding the contract, you are not clear on how you're going to pay for all of these. It's a value chain thing. So as you clean up, you've got to clean up the banks, clean up the process, and ensure that you don't give people contracts when there's no clarity of how you're going to pay them.
So that was Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah on the recommencement of the Cocoa Roads project. But this is what the minority had to say about the audit and the recommencement of the project.
It is an indisputable fact that the Mahama NDC administration commenced hundreds of cocoa road projects across the country, completed some and left some at various stages of completion at the time of exiting office. These road projects were aimed at improving the road network in cocoa growing areas and providing access roads to aid in the cutting of cocoa beans. However, upon assuming office, the Akufo-Addo-led government halted 200 of these ongoing cocoa road projects under the guise of conducting a clinical audit. As we speak, after almost 3 years in government, not a single official of the erstwhile Mahama administration or a single contractor has been indicted for any inflated, fraudulent, or ghost cocoa road projects. Instead, what the Akufo-Addo government has succeeded in doing is to waste millions of the taxpayers' money on illegally procured audits, not sanctioned by the Auditor General. We are aware that $10 million has been paid to one such illegally procured private audit firm owned by a member of Akufo-Addo's Council of State.
What?
And at the right time, we shall make the chilling details available to the Ghanaian people.
So that's Eric Opoku. He speaks for the minority on cocoa affairs, food and agriculture. Let me begin the discussion right here in the studio. Let me begin with you, Ibrahim, because you were at the press conference, which was to essentially respond to the issues that have come up. Is it too early in the day to begin the cocoa politics?
It's not too early. I think former President Mahama, the NDC's presidential candidate, started this whole debate about how abysmal the performance of this administration has been, or the another administration has been, regarding the plight of cocoa farmers. So the president responded, and here we are. Now, zooming in to talk up specifically about the cocoa roots, I think it's very necessary. In fact, this idea was mooted by the late former President Mills, that the government contracts the syndicated loan, and then a chunk of the loan is used to fix routes leading to the cocoa growing areas. Okay. But hitherto, we had challenges of poor routes where the cocoa beans are harvested, dried, and they get locked up. So they are not able to be transported to the port for export. So it was necessary. But then we talk about the freeze on the project. That's equally in order, because any administration comes in, so many, like you heard Eric Opoku say, over 200 contracts awarded. Contractors were on site. But the new administration coming in, we need to evaluate these contracts that have been awarded. Was there value for money? Yes, that's critical, that's important. What I find quite ridiculous is the amount that's been quoted. $10 million.
We pushed, still they could not give us some.
Good, so we require from them a specific details. Amount if the 10 million is not the case. So, and then even the time that was taken, for instance, almost 3 years into this administration, you held these projects right at the beginning of 2017, and here we are. In fact, before Kojo Oponkroma, the information minister, addressed us, the media, the sector minister had come to Parliament to answer questions regarding the same matter, and he had indicated that yes, the audit was done. Some projects have been terminated, others have been given the go-ahead, others have been repackaged and re-awarded, in essence. So if it takes us 3 years, almost, to do this, then you ask yourself, the project that had been done, the percentage that had been executed, what will happen to that part of the road? Because you know very well that when you talk about road projects, if you don't complete it, the portion that you get to, if you leave it like that, it gets deteriorated.
And even if you want to work on it, the cost will go up.
Most definitely, most definitely. So I think some sort of agency will have been necessary to start with. This committee or this audit that was commissioned could have been done far, far earlier than this, almost 3 years that we are talking about. Again, we told 10 million. The government says it's not true. Tell us what figure was used. And couldn't the Auditor General have done this? Couldn't that have happened? That instead of going for a special audit, we allow a state agency mandated to undertake some of these audits to do so. What would have been wrong with that? So if you talk about the debate, as for the cocoa debate, of course, there's talk about who gave us much more and who is giving us less and whatever. I think that one is missing the debate, missing the argument. Personally, I've come from a cocoa growing area. Sometimes I have to be more specific. My father was a cocoa farmer.
Interesting.
Now, if you talk about the political football, it gets nauseating because let's talk about the cocoa farmer. For the past 3 years, Duke, you take your cocoa beans to CMB to go and sell, and the same amount.
But generally, the world prices have not been doing well.
They've not been doing well. At the point where the government
is putting in some subsidy of some sort, yes.
True. true. And I won't run away from that fact. At the point we were told that there was even pressure from external sources for government to reduce the producer price. Yes. But for the past 6, 7, 8 months, yes, the price has been improving. And that's a fact. But so you can argue that government is recouping the losses that it incurred. So I would have wanted or wished that the argument goes towards what can we do to improve the lot of the cocoa farmer? What can we do to improve the producer price for the cocoa farmer? Because as you heard Atoforsen mention during this same briefing, he talked about the fact that for each bag of cocoa that is sold, the farmer loses 200 Ghana cedis. If it's not true, Cocoa Board should come and tell us whether that's true or not. If it's true that for each bag that is sold, the cocoa farmer loses 200 cedis, that's serious. Good. Aside that, as to the achievement of President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, as against that of Mahama, as against that of Mills, I think the records are there. We can do better. At the point we had 1 million metric tons, and we've been dipping ever since. That's not encouraging.
So that, and that's not even a good record for any of the sides to be claiming credit for.
Most definitely.
Yes. So let me come to Richard now. You look at the commodities almost every day and how the prices do on the world market. Is this how we should be approaching the issue of developing that space for the betterment of our cocoa farmers?
Well, so first of all, sometimes it's funny when you look at how we approach cocoa, for instance. When we want to get more money from cocoa, what do? We make sure we produce more. And basic economics will tell you that when supply is in abundance, it reduces price. And that's what we've done in the past. When we want to get more money, we make sure we produce more cocoa. And I think that somehow we've learned our lessons, and then we came together with Ivory Coast, because together we produce over 60% of the world's cocoa beans. So we are trying to remedy that so we can now control supply, so to control price as well. I mean, that has been done. And I think that when we talk about cocoa or farming in general, we know quite a good number of Ghanaians are into farming. And when you look at cocoa, for instance, it's a cash crop, like we say, and it provides foreign exchange, which kind of gives us some reserves and stabilizes our city. So cocoa is a very crucial plant. And in terms of policies, the Cocoa Rows Rehabilitation Project, I think it's a laudable one, because we cannot say cocoa is a cash crop when you go to communities where they are produced. The roads are so bad, especially even going to the farms or even linking a cocoa growing community to even the district capital. It's unheard of. So when that project was announced, I think one of the, I told myself, at least we are beginning to move away from talking about fertilizer subsidy and free cocoa seedlings and all those things. I mean, this is comprehensive, because at the end of the day, when the rules are good at the cocoa growing community, you're able to move cocoa, and people are also able to move about freely. So I was expecting that, this project will go on as smooth as possible, but of course it didn't turn out so. And I quite remember when the project was launched by the former president, John Dramani Mahama. They costed everything to be about $450 million, in which they are going to be releasing $150 million per year. So they will be looking at roads in Ashanti region, Eastern region, Western region, I think BA, I should think so. And it's sad that it took this downwards trend, or it took this different path.
Because the accusation was that most of the road projects were not even in cocoa growing areas.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying. That it's typical of us. It's typical of us as a country, which we need to look at. So I would have it that, so if you're going to work on roads, we have a ministry that is designated to handle roads and road construction. So why would we do something like that and not get them involved? Let me give you this critical example where recently some hospital was built as part of some road project, and the Ministry of Finance said, Ministry of Health said, they were not consulted, more or less, and that, for the hospital to be functional, they need to come in and buy, and I'm like, so why would we do this to ourselves? And that's the same thing we are doing. So cocoa roads projects contracts were awarded, and the roads and highway ministries or the urban roads were not part of
Cocoa Board that was essentially supervising.
So Cocoa Board, because Cocoa Board has the funding, they are supervising. So I think that it was something went amiss over there. So when the new government came in and they wanted to do the audit, I think it's in order, especially when the administration of the former chief executive director has come under scrutiny. You'd want to look at all the things that, had gone wrong. And auditing is, for me, it's not a problem. It's something that we do almost every now and then. But what you should be careful about, we're talking about projects, we are talking about contracts that have been awarded already. And if you're going to audit, first of all, time is of the essence. You need to make sure that you do it snappy for people to continue. So those that were awarded wrongly, you can easily cancel and re-award them or whatever you want to do with them. But for you to do it within 2-3 years, I think that we have done a lot of disservice to ourselves, because one, the cost of the project are going to go up. And what we are going to do is, for every project, the mere fact that the time to complete it has expanded or has gone up, it means that the cost will go up, because for project, cost is related to the time you have to complete. So, this is going to go up, and who are we going to punish? And we continue to do these things as if we have money in abundance. Look, we have no money in abundance. All these monies are monies that, if we are able to save some, we could help other communities and other villages for other essential projects. So I think that it's something that we need to have a relook.
Okay. Sena, you have the last word on this.
Well, I on the issue of the cocoa roads, I think at this point in time, the government will help itself if they are able to tell us exactly what happened to the audits, how come it took so long, and what they found. And that is very critical, because you are talking about road projects that were started. And my two colleagues talk about what will happen if you leave a road project for so long, the changes that it will undergo, the fact that you have to start majority of what you've done over again. It may even cost more than the amount you had initially projected. So if we are incurring such a loss over a period of time because you wanted to do an audit, at least you need to tell us what the audit uncovered. Did you find what you were suspecting? Was it worth our time? Why did it take so long? So they need to address that issue. And then there's the issue of the $10 million that the minority is now raising. That's a lot of money, especially for a government that comes to power and says they want to ensure value for money on those projects. If you're spending $10 million on an audit, those are serious issues.
But shouldn't they have given us some further details?
I think I have a lot of challenges with what the minority did. First of all, we have a ranking member of the Agri Committee. Yes. And he is one of the senior most person when it comes to Agri. As far as administration or especially in Parliament is concerned. I don't expect such a person to come out to make allegation. Look, you are minority. You're supposed to hold the majority or government to account. So why would you come out and be making allegation when you have the powers to even summon the Cocoa Board CEO to come and respond to these things? The least we expect from you is to be making allegations. I can make allegations because I may not have all the facts, but when you are in a position where you can get a fact, you don't come and be making allegations and say, we understand or we hear. I think that for our governance structures, it doesn't help for people in that position to make such allegations. And these were questions that were posed to them at the press conference.
When I also understood, I think I also had the experience of going to that press conference. They indicated that, well, that is just a hint that if they are challenged, they will come out with the details. Well, I have read the story which was published on your website. And it was with the communications manager for Cocoa Board. And I realized that he was talking about the audit and justifying why they needed to do the audit. He didn't address the issue of whether or not they spent that amount. So that is still hanging. But on the issue of the cocoa sector, I don't think that debate helps this government. Frankly, since they walked into power, they've had difficulties in that particular sector. They've been struggling with that sector. Remember that you have decided that instead of giving fertilizers for free, you have decided to do a 50% rebate. You are asking the farmer to pay for something that perhaps you were getting for free. Your reason is that he wasn't getting there
Yeah,
Now,
and to help with the accounting, if I may put it that way.
Yes, yes, but if you want to, remember that you are a new government. You can change the structures, you can improve efficiency, keep it free, but ensure that it gets to the farmer. You have that power to make sure it works better than the former administration was doing. So that decision alone put some cost on the cocoa farmer, which they were not bearing initially. And also the issue of the fact that you have just decided that you are halting roads that were being constructed to their area. And you are also in a position where you are not able to increase the price of the good that you're buying for them for 2 years. Yeah. So it doesn't help your cause for the president to challenge the former administration to come and tell what they've done. It is not what he should be doing. He should be addressing the issue of the cocoa farmer. What is the current situation? How come you are here? What you're doing to make their situation better. And I think that's what they should be focusing on. And one last point is that, in fact, the whole politics does not help the cocoa farmer. The major problem facing the cocoa farmer now is land. Okay. Because now they are competing for land with small-scale miners.
And rubber
yes.
plantations.
And these are serious issues that the government needs to focus on rather than engage in the kind of politics they are engaging in. Because at the end of the day, people can't cut down their cocoa farms and maybe start over again, because there are a lot of cocoa farms which have reached a stage where they need to be cut down and replant, new seedlings planted. But they can't do that because the land tenure system means that it will have been suggested that you are not cultivating the land anymore. Okay. So there's a land issue that needs to be addressed.
All right. Yeah. So that's by way of the cocoa road politics and the various issues involved. I think the panelists on the set agree that information needs to be put out regarding exactly what went into the audit, the amounts that went into the audit, why it took so long, and all of those issues that have been left hanging and have not been answered yet. But I'll be right back after this break. This is Press Conference on CCTV. Don't go away. And you're welcome back. I still have in studio Sena, Richard, and Ibrahim. Yes, Ibrahim Alhassan. And we've been discussing the major issues arising out of press conferences and press engagements in the country in the course of the week under review. Just gone by, we're discussing the matters arising out of the cocoa road issues, the cocoa road politics, the press conferences from the Ministry of Information and that of the minority. But for now, they will move to the issue regarding the AFCON statement and the budget, or I may put it that way, a skeletal frame of what was spent at the AFCON 2019, where the Black Stars exited at the round of 16 stage. $6.3 million was budgeted, but an amount of $4.5 million was spent. And on your screen there, you would see portions of the statement that was exactly presented to Parliament, and airfare, some $924,000 per diem, additional technical staff, winning bonus, medicals, visa fee, internal transportation, incidentals, and all summing up to $4.5 million. Well, the Youth, Sports and Culture Committee of Parliament has indicated that they may be probing, or they will be probing, this issue. Let me come to the studio now and begin with Richard. This is a matter that even before the tournament began, there were serious calls for the budget to put out there. But the excuse was that we're going for a tournament. Let's come back after everything. We render an account, we render a report of what happened. Was this a semblance of what you expected?
Well, I think I quite remember, was it 2014? 2014, one of the years, I think it should be the 2014 World Cup, where people were calling for the budget when the football administrators at that time thought, there was no need for them to show, and this is where we are. For me, I have a lot of difficulties when people say this is a budget. I don't think this is a budget because, primarily, budget is supposed to show what you are getting and what you are spending. And budget sometimes, from what I know, is a plan of what you have to spend. And what we are seeing is what they have spent and they are coming to tell us. It's not what they've budgeted for. This is more or less of an expenditure. So they've made their budget, went to Egypt and spent it, and they are coming to render to us. So what we are seeing now is not a budget because it's already been spent. So they are rendering an account to us and an expenditure list, for want of a better word. And for me, I think it's disappointing because we've been here before, not once, not twice. We've been here before, and you would have expected that the people or the administrators in charge this time would have acted in a more professional, would have behaved differently from what their predecessors had done. But they didn't do it. And for a tournament that we went in, potentially we could have played 7 matches if we were playing from the group stages to the final, assuming they made preparations for all that. So we are playing from group game 1 all the way to the final, or even the last 3rd and 4th place game. And we budgeted for $6.3 million. And I mean, unfortunately, we got kicked out at the 4th match, which was so 4 out of 7.
Oh, yes.
And incidentally, we won just 1 match. And when you look at the amount of money that was dedicated that was spent, 4.3, or is it 4.5?
4.5.
4.5. And how much did we pay for winning 1 game? And people would want to look at it from the player's perspective, but when we saw the list, what you saw was you had a list of, so there are 3 different people who took winning bonuses. The players, additional staff, and then technical
stuff.
So when you do your computation, so you realize that we spent 1.2 million or so, in excess of 1.2 million for winning just 1 game.
Yeah.
So assuming that the 7 matches we budgeted for, if we had made provisions or if we had won 4 matches, are you saying that we would have spent more than the 6.3? Because if one winning bonus, 1 match is costing us about in excess of $1.2 million, it means that, I mean, somewhere or somehow somebody didn't plan prudentially. And I mean, corruption, I'm not saying there was any act of corruption here, but we know that corruption thrives when there's lack of transparency, when people don't see what is going on. So assuming that you had brought the budget before you went to the tournament, then people would be able to see, okay, so this is how much we have planned. And then you'll be made to answer questions, especially. So when we talk about winning bonuses, how much are you looking at paying per match? And how much are you looking at paying to the technical staff? But all these things were not done. So we took the money to Egypt, and then when we spent the money, then we came back to run an account. And I'm thinking that, especially from 2014, where we had the Jamape Commission, some of these things were things that came up, and you would have thought that we've learned our lessons. But I mean, it seems that nothing has changed. And for me, as a financial person or as somebody who reports on the financial sector, I was thinking that we should be doing a lot of electronic transactions by now. We should be able to know, okay, so we are going to Egypt, winning bonus is fixed, match ticket is fixed, all these things are fixed. And so for a player or the winning bonuses, we should be able to transfer. So we don't need to even send all these people that we send to Egypt. Look, if you can do the transaction in Accra, why would you need somebody to go there to go and do all these transactions? I mean, someone going there would also come with per diem and all those winning bonuses. And I'm sure all the ministry officials that went were part of the additional technical stuff, because, I mean, once there's money to be spent, everybody would want to take part in it. So I think that it's like we're not learning our lessons. And we don't need any commission again, because what are we going to talk about?
So therefore, you do not see the need for any parliamentary probe or anything of that sort?
Probe, I mean, what are you going to talk about? When we've had a particular report which we are not implementing, are we coming to top it up? Mind you, we've had the Maputo, is it the Maputo?
Yes, the Maputo report as well.
Maputo report as well, and then we've had Jamape. So is it that we are coming to spend the rest of the money that they are retaining on another commission? I think we know the reasons already, and clearly somebody somewhere, I mean, would have to answer for some of these things. I mean, and I don't think it should take a commission or a committee or whatever it is for somebody to answer to some of these questions.
The call for the further and better particulars, or for further details. is it necessary when we have previous reports to look at and chart a better course for our football?
Look, very, very necessary. In fact, we still have questions lingering on our minds. The very moment Isaac Esiama was discharged by the speaker, I realized that there were so many outstanding questions that we needed to ask him. In fact, you and I attempted getting him.
Yes.
He ran away from us in essence. But the bottom line is this. So for instance, Isaac Esiama comes to Parliament and tells us, all of us, that the supporters who were ferried there, over 500 of them we told, embarked on an excursion at the expense of CAF and FIFA. Okay, that one has turned out to be a lie. And let's not garnish it. He told a lie. It's black and white. Now, you talk about the winning bonuses. When you do the math, for the players, each player is taking home $41,000. We push further and we're told that no, that's not just winning bonus. We have appearance fees in there, and we equally have qualification bonuses. But then why did you just term that one as a winning bonus? Why don't you break it down to make it easier for everybody? Because if you tell me that 23 players, they are winning bonus, we do the math and we arrive at $41,000 per player. We have questions, knowing very well that we want just one match. Then we push further into now telling us that no, it's not just winning bonuses. We have appearance fee and then we have qualification bonus, that's qualifying from the group stage. So there are so many questions, outstanding questions that we need answers to. Aside that, he mentioned the Jamepe Commission's report. In fact, you are aware that Isaac Esiama on the floor of Parliament brandished the report,
yes,
indicating that they had heard
or they implemented everything that the committee said.
Exactly. So my issue has got to do with the fact that Isaac Esiama, and for that matter, the ministry and this government will have saved itself a great deal of anguish if the budget had been made public before now. By now, we have chewed on that. We have exhausted everything in there. So the account that Isaac Esiama rendered in Parliament will just be reaffirming exactly what we knew. Right? But what I know for sure is that the players were excited that the budget was not disclosed. And it was part of the assurance they gave the president that, listen, a question was posed to them when they visited the presidency. What will it take for us
There's something you can say on authority.
On authority. And of course, everybody... Go to yes, anyway. A question was posed to them as to what we could do this time around as a nation to annex the trophy after 37 years. And the players answered, money. And the president said, money, no problem. If money is what you need, no problem. I will make the money available to you. The money was made available. Okay, the usual noise that greets these budgets, this time around, we will ensure they don't come. So they were excited, go and get us the trophy. And here we are. Worst performance in years. Now, nobody will blame the president. I won't blame the president. Only because he posed a legitimate question. We all want the trophy, don't we? And we were excited when we qualified for the group stage, even though we started on a very poor note. We were hopeful that we could qualify by beating Tunisia. That didn't happen. So we're back. Now back to Isaac Esiama. The budget wasn't disclosed. Now there was a question that was filed on the floor of Parliament by Governor Mensah Opoku, the ranking member for Committee on Youth, Sports and Culture. That question was not admitted by the Speaker. And it was filed 3 weeks before AFCON started. It wasn't admitted. Isaac Esiama was pushed. Nobody was willing to make the budget public. They went and came back. So it's good he has another day with the committee. What he came to do in Parliament was just presentation of a statement. And you and I know very well that you can't ask him questions on the floor of Parliament. Once it's a statement, it's presented. Just like what will happen tomorrow from the finance minister. He will just present a statement.
But that will be debated later on.
Of course, if he shows up, yes. But even that debate, you can't pose questions to him to demand answers from him on the floor. So it's good. I spoke to the chairman for the Committee on Youth and Sports, and his argument is that even the members of the committee, they have outstanding questions, especially, captured on the budget was a list of, not really breakdown, but that members of parliament were taken there. And they have the opinion that disclosure was made to, pitch members of parliament against the public. And that 10 people from the committee went, 2 from the minority, 7 from the majority. But even that, Parliament footed the bill of 3 MPs, and then the executive footed the bill of the rest. They went there to exercise their oversight responsibility. So for anybody to say that members of parliament had no business going there, I beg to differ.
No, but Ibrahim, let me find out from you.
Okay.
So you're talking about the sports minister having questions to answer.
Yeah.
I mean, when we ask the questions, is there a way that the people will be made to refund some of these monies? Because
if the findings because the parliamentary committee would be sitting with the powers of court, a high court,
yes.
and someone
yes.
every not to hold,
but what about the hold brief for
what is yet to be done. But the point is that the statement is vague.
Yes.
But it's not clear enough.
Yes. I am not disputing what you're saying. My point is, why do we allow the horses to bolt before now we come and do audits?
But there were demands for the budget to be made public.
But I'm saying that
this same security. That didn't happen.
Are we saying that somebody undermined the powers of parliament in this instance? Is that what it is? Because look,
the point is that you can make demand for an information, but through an arbiter. If the arbiter decides that you are not going to get the information,
no, but I'm saying
there's very little you can do in this case.
If I'm a citizen and I'm a taxpayer and I'm looking at all that is going on, you think that I would think Parliament served my interest in this instance? No, because one, you had the opportunity. I don't care whether the question was admitted or not. But I was thinking, look, you have to do the needful. Now the monies have been spent. Now you want to come and say, I have questions to. I mean, what are you going to do with the
needless? Absolutely needless.
Just wrap up.
If you are going to refund the money, it's fine.
That will happen. Because what will happen
in this country?
And that's my very final point on this. Don't forget, this expenditure will be audited by the Auditor General.
Yeah.
And if the figures do not reconcile, I'm talking about the 4.5 because there are many who believe that the amount spent was higher than the 4.5 that will be given. If indeed Domolevo and his people do their auditing and it turns out to be false, that will also play out at the Public Accounts Committee.
And even with the approach, you could on the floor, you could see even members of the Public Accounts Committee disagree with the fact that the minister was coming to account to MPs and to a greater extent to the nation at large, just via a statement, instead of the accounts being audited and brought to the PAC where he would have been questioned.
Exactly. The horses have not bolted. People will be made to answer. And I think indiscretion, nobody can impugn on the integrity of SDKCM as at now. Nobody can allege that there was any corrupt activity as at now. My issue has got to do with decisions that were taken that did not sit well with me. For instance, the supporters that were ferried there, 500 of them, and they were given open-ended ticket visas. So as we speak, there are supporters, Ghanaian supporters,
which he admitted to on the
floor. Yes, on the floor of Parliament. There are supporters still in Egypt. I mean, living on yourself and myself, our money. It doesn't make sense. We hesitated like 2 weeks ago. Even the players who played came 2-3 days later. So, indiscretion on the part of the minister and whoever, the organizers, that could be said. But not until the accounts are audited and we are able to tell that somebody engaged in one corrupt practice.
Prevention, they always say, is better than cure. We could have prevented all of this. But now we want to come back and kill.
We are here now. How do we tackle this issue?
Well, that's the difficulty here, because at this point in time, the sports ministry and those who manage the Black Stars are telling us what they want to tell us. And they want us to believe what they are telling us. At the beginning, we're asking them, tell us how much you are going to spend. What are your projections? Then, based on that, if you come back, we'll know whether you have done better at spending the money or not. Now, there are also questions about where even the money that they spent is coming from. Because I understand that 43 million cedis was approved for the ministry. Now, out of that 43 million cedis, emoluments and goods and services, if you take out the amounts budgeted for those two items, you have about 9 million cedis left. And they've spent $4.5 million, which takes it to about over 20 million Ghana cedis. So the question is, where is the money coming from? If you look at even what the expenditure items they have outlined, now you have to maybe carry a calculator and start doing but a couple of things. I understand that actually tickets, CAF takes care of some of the tickets.
And some
in
of
terms,
some of the, even the cost of
air
accommodation.
tickets, the accommodation and the match tickets and even the visa issue, visa fees are being challenged now because we understand if you're going to Egypt, you don't have to.
Free visa, but so the visa fees are for Dubai, the trip to Dubai for the camping.
So it's very now it's very confusing because now they've just put an item together. You're looking at it and you can't make sense out of it.
The more reason why probably the probe is necessary.
I don't think we need a probe.
Okay.
I think we need a detailed report that outlines exactly how much was paid to who are members of that additional technical staff. What do you mean by visa fees? Even the Dubai you're mentioning, I understand, is the same situation as Egypt. Match tickets, who were the match tickets procured for? Because I understand even when the president went there, what they could have done is to notify the organizing committee. They'll provide accreditation for them. If you are sending extra officials, you will notify them. They'll provide accreditation for them. So why are you buying match tickets? There's the issue of the supporters, which has not even been catered for in the expenditure items. So how many supporters were taken there? How were they catered for? How much was spent on them? So even the $4.5 million that they've put forward is very questionable. There are questions to be raised about it. Are supporters part of that budget? The question you should also be asking is how much money came to them? How much money did they receive? From who? So where the monies are coming from is also something else. So that budget alone in itself, I'm calling it a budget. It's not even a budget.
Expenditure.
It's not. It's the
expenditure.
The issue of
the money and the budget is what has dominated the headlines.
Talking about the fund, it actually came from the presidency, the contingency fund of the government machinery. So the funding came from the presidency, not from the budget of allocation of it.
In fact, but that contingency would be part of the entire, from the office of the government machinery.
Most definitely, not from the budget of allocation of the ministry.
But I think that we need to be serious in this country. When it comes to the Black Stars, there's a lot of commercial value that we can derive from the Black Stars.
Which is the key we unlocked in 2006 and it took us to the first World Cup in 2006.
So if we are able to leverage this particular commercial value, a lot of companies would want to associate themselves with the Black Stars. But the way we are managing the Black Stars now, I doubt any credible organization would want to associate themselves with this shambolic way where you see people come on board because they want to make money and all this. No serious company would want to attach their brand.
But also don't forget that we are in a transition period in terms of our football sort of.
And it's even more serious.
Normalization.
What are we normalizing?
It looks like even the normalization
in 2017, we went to semi-final. I think we played 7 matches, even at 3rd and 4th place. We spent 3.7 million. And this time around, 2019, a normalization committee, which is supposed to correct the ills of 2017, we've spent 4.5, played just 4 matches. And you want to tell me we are normalizing what?
So it means that even the corrupt GFA was better.
On that normalization note, let me take some of the comments that have come in. This one from Michael from Sena Paga. He says, please, the president should set up a commission to probe the sports minister and normalization. To exactly what my panelists. I think there's two panelists, or one panelist and the host are for a further probe, which for me is, and then two. So the panel is divided. Yes, 2 for a probe and 2 are for the probe.
Remaining 1.7 million
on the probe.
Commission. No.
Well, this one also from Alexander in North Legon says the minister might have accurate explanation as why that much cash was spent. Nothing gone aloof, but Duke, that wasn't prudent. To book hotels till end of tournament, not knowing your fate. Visa dates that are here are unchangeable, spanning the entire tournament period. Come on. So the country basically paid for expenses post our elimination from the tournament. That can be right, though the mathematics might add up to the amount. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll go into the last issue that we have for discussions, which is looking into the mid-year budget review, which is scheduled for tomorrow. You're welcome back. This is press conference right here on CTTV. I still have with me Sena, Richard, and Ibrahim. We're discussing the major issues that have come up from the major press briefings and engagements in the course of this week under review. I have a couple more messages that I would read before we move to our last issue. This one from Prince Henry Koforidua says, Ghana Black Stars left AFCON 2019 2 weeks ago. The AFCON tournament ended almost a week ago in Egypt, yet we still have supporters of Black Stars in Egypt siphoning taxpayers' money, and the Minister of Sports is still at post, I think the normalization committee must go, and the sports minister must also go because he promised he was going to bring the trophy to Ghana. That's what you think. This one from Baba Atubari in Ashley Board, St. Peters. That's Ashley Board, St. Peters, yes. Good evening. I think that Isaac Esiama and the sports ministry need some normalization. Excursion organized by CAF. This government really has the men who can lie. Well, that's what you are. God save us. Please ask Sena why he refuses to read my text. Well, that's probably the regular text to your show. Right? He decided to carry it here. I don't know. Stephen from Kintampo says total waste, extravagant and insensitive use of taxpayers' money, which could have been used to construct asphaltic roads in Kintampo and its environs. Well, that's what you think. But for now, we will go into our last issue, which has got to do with the mid-year budget review. The Deputy Minister for Finance told the press in Parliament what Ghanaians should expect.
We all know that the mid-year review is a constitutional, it's a requirement from the Public Financial Management Act that at the end of midway through the implementation of the budget, you are supposed to account to the people of Ghana through Parliament how you have implemented the budget. And so that is what we are coming to tell Ghanaians, how far we have come with the 2019 budget that Parliament approved for us. And in this mid-year, we will try to address the pertinent issues that are bothering Ghanaians. We will look at so many things, and we will tell you how far we have fared with the revenue, and also in terms of our expenditure, what we have done. We'll also share with you any other thing that we believe will help give Ghanaians hope that this government is really working and is on course to deliver on everything that this government said we were going to deliver in the 2019 budget.
Well, that's Abdul Sasari, Deputy Finance Minister. There's just a press release from the Finance Ministry that this came in, but just to read some portions of it. It says this year's presentation will have a particular focus on the issues affecting the energy sector alongside their planned reforms. Another major area expected to be addressed is the financial sector performance and Ghana's debt situation, domestic revenue mobilization, and the review of the luxury vehicle tax will also be highlighted. Sena, your expectations ahead of tomorrow?
Well, I was just going to mention the issue of the luxury vehicle tax, and you recall the group VADAG, and some other groups were supposed to have been part of the Kumi and Perkun demonstration. They pulled out at the last minute because some promises were made to them. So I don't know, because if you speak to them, they are very clear on exactly what they expect. They are not interested in a reduction. All they want is for that particular levy to be cleared. They don't want to see it at all. And so they want that particular aspect dealt with. So we'll be seeing exactly what government has decided to do about it. And then there is also the issue of the fact that if you go to the ports, there are issues being raised. Importers they are raising red flags, telling government that they will not tolerate any more revenue. So we'll see how they address that issue too. And then there's the issue of the energy sector. The prediction is that we will be seeing government perhaps raising some more levies in the energy sector to try and address the issue of the debts. Yeah. The question government should be answering, if that is what they are thinking, is what happened to EXLA? Is EXLA failing, or they are not managing EXLA well? So are the monies not coming in, and how are they dealing with those issues? So those are just some of the few things I expect the budget to deal with, and to see how they are trying to, because they promise massive infrastructure development this year. How far have they gone? What have they been able to do? Is the Chinese money in? Have they even started the road projects? So maybe some updates on those issues.
Okay. Richard?
Well, I don't want to be in the shoes of the finance minister at this moment, because it's very difficult. You know, one of the first things they did when they came to power was capping on transfers to the statutory funds. And there's been
a Supreme Court ruling on that.
Yes. So what they said was they don't want they want the fiscal space to spend, because when you look at the budget, there were key items which consume almost all, in fact, all of our revenues, not leaving some for even capital expenditure. Look at interest payment, look at salary, wages and salaries, and I think there was goods and services also. And these three items alone consume all the revenue.
Over 60%.
And so you would expect that once they did that, I mean, they had some fiscal space. But what have we seen? We've seen a lot of government project initiatives which themselves do not necessarily generate revenue, also coming to add more pressure. And when you put all of these things together, you're going to look at the fact that revenue is not, we're not collecting enough revenue as we are supposed to collect. So now it's more or less like we need to borrow more to spend, because you can't spend what you don't have unless you borrow. And that's what we are doing now. And so if you have a government which continuously is not able to make or meet their revenue target, it means that they will be looking at implementing some new tax measures or kind of tweaking some of the ones that they are in existence already. And I have heard rumors that some of the tax measures that will be tweaked include the communication service tax and to some extent the S-line code.
That's what we're here.
Yeah, so for me, I think that we need to, all of us, I mean, much as we are not ready, we are going to have more taxes to pay. Depending on, I don't know which sectors that they will hit more, but clearly, looking at the way we are not able to collect revenue, we are going to pay more, the way things are going.
Ibrahim?
Well, what we don't know yet is as whether Ken Ofori-Atta will present a supplementary budget, because that one he decides, he chooses to.
Whether to do that.
Yes, but for the review, per the law, he's supposed to. You've touched on, of course, per the release that just came from the ministry, energy sector. I'm sure, and for the past 2 or so weeks, I think there are people who have been testing the world test, testing our pulses as a nation, as whether we will be ready to pay extra as far as energy is concerned. ESLA, yes, we told, just like Richard said, the levies could be increased, adjusted upwards. As for the luxury tax, yes, it's going. We know that for a fact that it's going. Aside that, and still dwelling on the energy sector, then you ask yourself whether it was necessary for us to reduce utility tariffs just about a year ago, because more or less like plus 1 minus 1. And when the reduction was done, there were sector players, industry players, who cautioned government that it wasn't a prudent decision to take.
I think we've done a lot of populist things.
Yes, and we are paying a price for it.
We had in the first budget of Ken Ofori-Atta, the removal of the so-called nuisance taxes. And we found a way of bringing some of them back clandestinely.
The recalibration.
Yeah. Exactly. And then even the vehicle luxury tax. I mean, what is more nuisance than a vehicle luxury tax? Something that you've already paid for. Look, when you're importing a car, I think beyond a certain engine capacity, you pay something at the port. So if I've paid that penalty, why would I come and pay another penalty? And this is more of a nuisance than some of the things that
we'll see tomorrow if with the kind of adjustment that will be done to that tax.
You see, like he said that he wouldn't want to be in Ken Ofori-Atta's shoe. Yes, same with me, because last night, your revenue target for the past 3 years, GRA has been messing. To you, the best solution is to move people at the top. Yeah. That has been done. As to whether we'll get a result or not,
it will
take time, most definitely. So, and public debt, over 200 billion Ghana cedis as we speak, we're inching closer to the red line. So there's no fiscal space. The capping was introduced. Nonetheless, we still don't have enough physical space to maneuver. Talk about capital expenditure. What can you point to for the past 3 years to say that there's a capital expenditure? Yes, somebody can point to free SHS and say that when you invest in the future of your country, it's a capital yes, but of course, you and I know very well that as far as economic is concerned, it's called a recurrent expenditure. You're paying people school fees, you're paying salaries. So let's be cautious so we don't borrow so much. I'm sure Ghanaians will be a bit sympathetic towards the government and then take a bit of a bullet.
That will be the big matter for that will dominate the headlines tomorrow. That's the media budget review expected to be presented by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. But for now, though, I'd like to thank my in-studio guest, Sena Nombo, from Radio Gold, host of Alaji on Pan-African TV, Richard Abbey, Annerquaye Abbey, editor of citybusinessnews.com, and Ibrahim Alhassan from GH1, and that's the AIB Group Parliamentary Correspondent. And my name is Mensah Opoku, and to you at home for doing the watching, keep watching City TV. Enjoy the rest of our programming.